Hey everybody, welcome to the stream. Today I'm going to be sharing a workflow for you. This is a fantastic workflow that I learned from Mistor Morris Games. Very cool account. I'll post a link in the description. We're also going to be listening to a little bit of Badsnacks, another one of my favorite musicians. Badsnacks. Let's go ahead and get started for this workflow. I'll try to keep things as simple as possible so that this isn't a very long video and you get the most out of it. So I'm going to be using Aseprite, but I'm pretty sure that you can get this to work with just about any art program that you might be using, but I'm just using Aseprite. If you're not on Aseprite, I recommend you get on it. Aseprite's fantastic, very affordable, very powerful. So we're going to start with a new file, and we're going to do 1 by 1 pixel. So we have a really tight pixel density here. As you can see, it's miniature. I mean, it's only 1 pixel. So we'll go ahead and expand our canvas, right? Not sprite size. So keep an eye on that. You want to expand your canvas size because you still want your pixel ratio to be 1:1. So we'll go with canvas size, and we'll do something like 400 by 400. Now this is up to you. This is just how large my canvas is going to be to draw in. It's not going to affect the image. It's really just a canvas. So we'll press OK. We'll zoom out a little bit so we could see our canvas. Now I'm gonna use a cursor all the way to 1, and I'm gonna load a different color palette. Just my preference. I love using Untitled 32 color palette. This is the guy designing nykra. If you're not familiar with nykra, NYKRA, go check it out. He's still developing that game, but it's fantastic. So I'm gonna load his color palette. It's very tasteful, and I'm gonna go ahead and choose a muted color and just fill in that background just so we can get rid of the checkerboard. We're not really going to be using it. And I'm going to rename this layer BG for background. Make a new layer, and this is where we're going to be doing our actual map. And now we could just start drawing our map using a 1:1 pixel ratio. And this is going to allow us to very quickly start building out maps. So we'll do a room here, a little square room. And then we can add maybe a vertical room to this. And then maybe around here we can do... Did I say vertical? I meant horizontal. Little mess. We'll do something like this. And if you think about this, this pixel in game is actually going to represent a 16 by 16 pixel ratio. Right now it's just 1 pixel because it allows us to quickly just draw out our map. But if we were to compare this pixel to, say, our player would be about 2 of these next to each other. So it'll be, this would represent a 32 pixel image, right? Because if this 1 pixel is 16, when you stack these, you get 32. So that's about the size of our player. So let's just use that so we can keep track of our scale. And let's say our player starts at the top of this room, and he's just going to work his way down. I'm going to make this a little bit larger, and we're just going to draw something like this, just to keep this kind of an organic feeling room. And when you're designing your map, you have to also keep in mind just what kind of game you're building. This is going to be for a platforming game, so I'm sort of designing things for that type of aesthetic. And this is a really great way to just look at the flow of your game, to look at how things are connected with each other, and you get to really build very interesting looking rooms and maps really quickly once you get the hang of things. So I'm going to use this red color to represent doors. So I think I'm going to have maybe a door right around here. And of course, in order to get into that door, you need to have some kind of a surface to walk on, right? So we'll do it like this. And maybe right here we can have like a really cool pickup to grab. Anyway, I'm going to kind of breeze through this a little bit faster just because I really want to get to the part where I show you how to incorporate everything together. And I might take a little bit of an eraser here and just sort of flesh out just a little room here. Right. Look at this. Very cool. Could have another pickup there. And start thinking about your game a little bit. You know, over here we might have an enemy, we might have some spikes in certain places, just to really make things a little interesting. You know, give opportunity to your players. Right, an opportunity to fall down. Maybe we can have another pickup right around here. An opportunity to traverse upwards back onto different parts of the map. All right, again, this is somewhat basic, but I think this will do for now. So you can see we have a real basic room here. Of course, you will take your time, you will elaborate when you're doing this, and you would build something a lot better than this, I hope. But this will be your other room here. And then you can even do things like this really quickly. Get your eraser. And you could carve out really cool dungeons like this. This is a really quick way to represent your ideas. So we have somewhat of a little dungeon crawler thing happening here, kind of traversing through this underground tunnel. Can have another door here. And this could lead to another room now. So yeah, we're pretty much just building little rooms, and a really cool technique too is to also use copy and paste, right? So we can build something like this, press M for mask, and from here you could just start kind of building the idea of where you're gonna want your rooms to be. We could probably put another room over here, put another one over here, and resize things. and then you can just come in and just clean those up, but you're able to quickly build on your ideas this way. So we see like a little map coming along here. Then you would go in and, right, you get the idea. Look at that. Really, really cool. So let's go ahead and look at this room. So how do we go from building something like this, which is going to be an enormous map? I mean, and you can always enlarge your canvas and go even larger, but first thing we're going to do is make sure you're on map. And we're going to select this one level, press Ctrl C to copy. We'll go new, and this will automatically recognize the size you've selected. So it's a 56 by 69 pixel room. Press OK, and then Ctrl V to paste, and now we've pasted in our room design. Now it still needs a lot of work, but from here you've been able to quickly start iterating what will be your world map, and now we can break those maps into rooms and start building them. So now that we've done that, we're going to go ahead and enlarge this to the right scale, because right now it's still tiny, way too tiny. So we'll go to sprite size, and make sure your aspect ratio is locked. And we're going to go ahead and go to the percentages, go 1600. And this is because I'm doing a 16 by 16 pixel ratio. We'll press OK, and now the canvas is blown up and much larger. So now one of the things we could do is start building, start drawing, start doing our art here. So this is a sketch I like to work on. It's just an Aseprite image that I like to kind of use as a sketch pad for ideas. And I have my player selected here. I'm going to press Ctrl C to copy him, and I'm just going to bring him into this room. And that just helps me kind of stay focused and stay within my style of art. And I'm actually going to paste him in his own layer. So I'm going to take him out of here, and I'm going to make a new layer. I'm going to paste him there, and I'm going to rename this collision, because this would be our collision layer, which is all this blue stuff. And I'm going to remove this, which this is what was representing our player. But if you look, our player should pretty much be within that pixel ratio. See, he's in that 32 by 32 box. So our canvas enlargement and our image enlargement was working just fine. So now that we're here, I'm also going to make a new layer, and this is up to me. This is something I like to do. I like to do some wall art in here, and then I like to also add some polish. So for wall art, I'm just going to get kind of a muted color and just fill in this canvas. I'm going to bring it underneath and fill it in, and that just kind of gives me an idea of how my world looks. And I could, if I choose to, I could sort of also draw a little bit inside of this world. So I'm just going to pick somewhat darker color and start blocking in some artwork for him. Again, this is really just your preference. It's my preference, it's how I like to work, but it's really up to you. I think, you know, if you're really great at art and you want to have a painterly look, I think this is going to be a great opportunity for you to show off some of those skills. I'm not that great of an artist, but I do enjoy being able to come in and kind of draw some of these things. It's a lot of fun to start seeing like what the world would look like. Another thing you could definitely do, and I highly recommend you do this, is have tile sets that you can overlay over this. when you import this into your game. Just have some tile sets. If you don't have tile sets and you want to do the painterly thing, this is where you go into your polish layer and start using some of Aseprite's built-in tools to help you quickly build up on this map. I'm going to enable my grid here just so I can leverage the 16 by 16 pixel ratio, and I'll show you how I quickly can make a really crappy floor tile, but for demonstration purposes, right? Do it like this. So you could press M for marquee, double click on a tile, press Control B to make it a brush, and then we could paint this right across the room. Again, had this been a much prettier tile set, it would look much nicer than this, but you get the idea, right? This gives you the flexibility to draw in all of your tiles. And if you're a better artist than I am, you can really do a lot of great work really quickly like this. Definitely very useful. And then you can always turn that off. You can have an artist come in, draw individual tiles, draw spider webs, or whatever have you that's going to be inside of your game. So it's a really cool way to focus on art for a game, make your game look very unique, make all your levels look very unique. Again, I mean, it's definitely a challenge, right? But if you don't want to do it this way, you don't have to. I'm going to turn these things off, and I'm going to start exporting this, and I'm going to import it into Gamemaker. I'll show you how to do that next, and we'll be able to just use tile sets if you have them, and that's going to be much easier to do. So I'm going to turn off the walls. I'm going to leave just the collision map on, and I'm just going to export this as a PNG. Right, and this could be, test level 100%, and I'm going to make sure I'm going to drop this right on my desktop. So we'll do export, and this will be just a typical PNG file. Let me see. Give me 1 second. I have to choose an actual desktop location. All right, so we've exported it, and now we can go to a room and open it up. So let's go over to Gamemaker. Let's open up Gamemaker. All right, so here we have Gamemaker, and this is just a test room. It's got a bunch of layers in it that I use, but for the most part, it's just a blank room. There's really nothing in it except my player object. So the first thing I want to look at is the room size. I'm going to go ahead and change it so that it is the same size as the map that we built earlier. So if we come to Aseprite, we can look at our image size. And we're looking at 896 by 1104. That's a massive room. So let's go ahead and put that in Gamemaker. Let's open up Gamemaker. So that was a width of 896 by 1104. So I'm going to make a new sprite over here. It'll be test level. And then we're going to import the PNG file that we exported. All right, so here we have the level that we designed in Aseprite. And now we're going to go back to our test room, and I have two assets here, asset layers. This is BG1 and BG2. So in BG2, and you don't have to call it that. I only call it that because I'm actually using a parallax system, which is why I have two different asset layers. So let's go ahead and add that asset, that test level, right to this layer. And I think I'm using the same exact blue. So let's go to the background and change this background to something completely different. Yeah, so here we can see we have our asset now dropped in, and we have a 16 by 16. Let's change that, 16 by 16, and we have it snapping. We're going to snap it to the top left, and we should probably move our player so that he's not inside the map. Let's go to our player. All right, so here we have our player, we have our room, and now this is a place for you to start building your levels. So we went to Aseprite, we built a massive world map, we zoomed in into those individual levels. We can go into Aseprite and spend a lot of time doing some art, and I'll show you guys more or less what that would look like, what some of that would look like. So this is the same exact process was used for this. I built this in Aseprite in the same way, and I drew these in Aseprite and kind of brought them in, and it was tedious. It was unnecessarily tedious. But if you're better prepared than I am, you would be using a tile set that you could just kind of quickly just draw over everything. And if you have tile-based collision, it would be even easier for you to be able to build rooms like this. With the freedom of using Aseprite to draw everything, being able to export, being able to quickly draw. And I like using this method as well because the background really is just a sprite. So if there's something that you change your mind about, you're not so sure, you could always open up this sprite, edit image, and come in here and just maybe you want to change or add a different platform. You could do that here. I mean, this is just a drawing. It's just a great way to block in all your things. Keep in mind, whatever changes you have here, you would have to go back into your world map and change it. But this is just a really great workflow for somebody who needs ideas or is a really good artist and wants to quickly draw things. It's a great way for you to just sketch out a world map, export it into Gamemaker, start slapping art on it. And yeah, I think this is great. So thanks a lot for Mr. Morris. Thank you so much for sharing this workflow. The workflow is great. Thanks for Badsnacks for putting out great music. Let me know in the comments below if you like it. Let me know if you're using this workflow, what you think, if you have better ideas. I'm sure there's so many other ways to do something similar, but this is just my workflow. This is what works for me. I've been using it for a while now, and it's been great. So hopefully it's helped you out in some way. All right, till next time. Thanks again. Thanks for watching.